Hello everyone, welcome to It's Crochet O'Clock. My name is Stephanie and today we are going to be working on the Rambling Rose Shawl Crochet Along by Pippin Poppycock week 4. This week we are going to be joining our panels to the main body of the shawl that you can't see because it's not in the shot. There it is, just a little bit of it there. We are going to be working our vines on our panels. We are going to be making leaves and we are going to be connecting them. That is week 4. Super, super exciting. Don't forget that the description box below has the website for pippinpoppycock.com where you can go and you can download the pattern for this shawl if you would like to follow along with the written pattern. There will also be a link for Pippin Poppycock's Facebook group if you would like to share your pictures and your progress with other people that are also working on the crochet along with you. For this project, I am using Stylecraft Special DK yarn. I am using my 4.5mm crochet hook, and then I will also be using my trusty darning needle. So let's get right into part 4, shall we? So before we actually get into working on the vines, we need to determine which panel it is that we're going to be working on first. It is important to note, you remember we have one panel that has 9 squares, one panel that has 8 squares. The one that is 8 squared is going to go on the right side of the shawl. If the shawl was a triangle like this right here, our 8 square is going to go on this side and our 9 square is going to go on this side. And the reason that that's important to point out is because down at the bottom peak, or the bottom of the V of the shawl, we are not going to place vines. So this is my 9 panel one. This is my top edge that we created to attach to the main body of the shawl. This whole square right here, we're not going to put vines on it. Now if this were the opposite and it were the 8 panel, we would stop right here. We were not going to put any vines over here on this side. So that's important because I don't want you to go, okay, now I know how to surface crochet, and then just take off and start doing your vines and do vines everywhere. And then you're going to end up questioning your life choices once you move on to the next sections. So this is my 9 panel square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot all the way over to the end. And this is where I am going to start out. To surface crochet, it is not hard at all. It looks a little bit intimidating, but it's nothing but slip stitches, honestly. You're going to create a slip knot, but you're not going to put it on your hook just yet. You're going to decide on a place where you want to start, and this does get a little bit finagly whenever you're working with it, but that's okay. Just insert your hook, and then on the back side, put that slip knot on your hook. Okay, hold this tail against your work so you don't lose it, and then, well, don't lose your slip knot off of your hook either. And then just pull this loop through. Make sure you're holding on to that tail, and then insert your hook, grab that yarn from the back side, pull it through, and then pull it straight through just like a slip stitch. Make sure you're holding on to that tail so your knot doesn't come through. You don't want that. So we're just going to move in whichever direction it is that you want. Just insert your hook, pull it through, and then pull it through. That's really all surface crochet is. It's not complicated at all. The most complicated part of this is keeping the panels under control as you're working, and the start, because you do have to hold on to that tail, which you will weave in later whenever you're done. Now Emma gives us a lot of leeway with these vines. I also think that it would be pretty unrealistic to try and make you count to a specific place in each square. So she's very, very kind to us, and we can do vines however we want. If you want to make one continuous vine and weave around your roses all around, you can do that. If you want to do little sections of vines working through your work, you can do that. If you want to put a squiggly here or a circle there, you can do that. Every single Rambling Rose shawl is going to be unique in this way because no two vines are the same. It's kind of realistic because vines have minds of their own and they just do what they want to do, and we can't will them to move in a specific way. So that is surface crochet. Creating your vines, moving it all through. Now this is going to take a little bit of time, and like I said, you'll end up having to finagle just a little bit. It's going to be hard work moving your yarn around this panel so you don't get tangled up. But I'm going to leave you to finish this. Just remember that all the way over on the right hand side of your 9-panel square, that last square, you are not going to place any vines there. On your 8-panel square, the last half on the left-hand side, you're not going to place any vines there. That's where we're going to meet, and we will go back in later and replace vines there. So go ahead, work your vines all over your panels, and when you come back, we're going to work on some leaves. As a side note for these panels right here, this panel right here is your 8 square panel. This panel right here is your 9 square panel. It's easier for me to show you on this picture than it is to try to get the whole shawl into frame. That's not going to happen. Want to point out that this is the side that your 9 square panel is going to be on. This is the side that your 8 square panel is going to be on. When you are working your vines, you are going to want to stop right here, and you're going to want to leave this entire square right here empty, because you're going to be working over this area right in there, attaching these 2 panels, and you don't want your vines to get messed up in that, and that will happen. So that's the reason why you want to stop. You can go into this area if you want to, if you're feeling the groove and you just don't want to stop, but just try to stay away from this edge right here on both sides, because if not, then you'll be unhappy when it comes time to join these together, okay? Welcome back. I hope you had a great time with your vines. Now, before we actually move on to the leaves, we need to attach our panels to our shawl. So what you're going to do, this is a really big project and I'm not going to be able to get it all into the shot, but what you're going to do is you are going to place your panels wrong side against your shawl. You're going to find your long end and take your panels, which I've already attached leaves to because I can't follow directions, and match them up. Okay, what you're going to do, make sure that you are working on your finished edge. You remember we have one finished edge and one unfinished edge. This portion you're going to be working in your finished edge, and we are going to be single crocheting this together. You have to make sure that you are putting the panels wrong side up, because if you don't, then you're going to end up with a ripple of a single crochet going across the top, and you don't want that. You want that hidden on the back side. So to do this, it's super simple. It's just like how we attached these squares to each other. You're just going to find your corner space or your last single crochet, and then find your first stitch over here, and don't get your yarn tangled up. Come on. Hopefully you won't have this trouble starting. Squish them together and single crochet. I always start off with a standing single crochet, but if you would like to join, you can do that as well. Now these should line up perfectly for you. Should being the relative word, the important word. You're just going to make sure that you're picking up both of them. All of the loops together. Pay very close attention to this, because if you miss one, you're going to end up with a hole, and that's not going to be fun. You'll be very upset with yourself, and then you're going to end up having a frog back because you're going to have a hole in your shawl. We don't want that at all. They're not meant to be there. They shouldn't be there. So you're going to continue this all the way down. This is the short panel, so you're going to attach the short panel first, and then you will attach the long panel. For the short panel, you're going to work a total of 209 single crochets. That's not where I was supposed to pick up. 209 single crochets. And when you get to the end of this, you are going to have one extra single crochet, one extra stitch, and just work a single crochet in that stitch, okay? That's the way that it's supposed to be. It's okay. You did not mess up. Don't make yourself crazy doing a count. When you go do this with the long panel, you are going to have a total of 234 stitches. Now the end of this long panel, this end right here, only on the opposite side, down at the point or the peak of the shawl. When you get to the end of the body of your shawl, you are just simply going to continue on working across that panel. Not hard at all. It's going to be there, sitting there waiting for you, because we are attaching it right now. And that's all that you need to do to join these panels to the main body of your shawl. So go ahead and join these panels. Pause the video. When we come back, I promise we're going to work on the leaves. Promise, promise, promise. So now it's time for us to actually make our leaves that I keep promising you. I'm going to show you how to make two different size leaves. This one is the small one, and this one is the large one. You can make as many or as little of these leaves as you would like. You don't even have to make them at all. If you don't like the aesthetic of them, you don't have to bother with them at all. But I do think that it gives a nice touch to the shawl overall. So first, we're going to start with learning how to make the big leaf. Now I will tell you, for both of these, you are going to want to make sure that you have a long tail, and that whenever you cut them off on the end, that you leave a long tail as well, because we have to sew these in. So you're going to want to ensure that you have enough to sew them in, because it's always better to have too much than not enough, okay? So in color D, what we're going to do is we are going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now what we're going to do is we are going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So there's 1 single crochet, and now we are going to work all the way down the chain, but we are going to make a half double crochet in the next stitch, and make sure that you're only picking up 1 loop, because we're going to have to work back up the other side. So there's our half double crochet. Now we are going to work a double crochet, and then 2 double crochets in this next chain. There's 1, and then 2. Now double crochet in the next, and then half double crochet. And at this point you should only have 1 chain left. That should be your first chain. And what you are going to do is, in this last chain, you are going to place a single crochet and then a half double and then a single crochet. And you see how I kind of worked around, and by doing that I've kind of turned my work. It's because now we have to work back up the opposite side. So we've already made our first stitch, which is this single crochet right here. So now we are going to have to work a half double in the next stitch, And what I like to do, you can pick up this first loop right there, but I like to go for the back one, and I'll show you why in a couple stitches. So there's our half double. Now we need to make a double. Oop, just the one, Steph. Well, that went all wonky. Double crochet. Sometimes it will benefit you to turn your work. These are really hard to see at times. There it is. Double, and then 2 doubles in the next stitch, if you can find it. There it is. It's a little bit harder to do it this way, but after I get finished placing these 2 doubles, I'll show you why I chose to go into that back loop there. So there's 2 doubles. You see how it's leaving this little ridge? I just thought that that was a nice little detail. Of course you don't have to do that. It's much easier to just insert your hook into that one, but I kind of like that detail, so that's why I do that. So our next stitch is going to be a double. And it's actually right there. If I can get into it. Don't let this detour you away from doing this. I'm looking through a viewfinder and it makes it a little bit harder for me to see the stitches than it would be in person, because I didn't have this trouble when I was doing it off camera. Alright, and the next one is a half double. Get in there. And now we are simply going to slip stitch to our first single crochet. And that is your large leaf. So now you can fasten off. Make sure you're leaving a tail because you are going to need to weave these in, and that is the full large leaf. So now I'll show you how to do the small one. For the small leaf, it's a lot like the large leaf, it's just a smaller version of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then again, we're going to place a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So there's our single crochet. We're going to work a half double in the next chain. And then we are going to work 2 doubles in the next. There is our second one. Now we're going to work a half double in the next. And right here you should have 1 chain space left, and in this chain space we are going to place 3 single crochets. Remember, this is the one where we kind of go round the rosy, just like the other one, because this second single crochet here, that's basically the point of the leaf. Now we need to work back up the opposite side. So you need to go into the next stitch. You're going to place a half double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 doubles in the next stitch. There's one. And two. And now a half double. If you can get it, there we go. And then just as before, you are simply going to slip stitch to this first single crochet. And that is your small leaf. So now you just need to fasten off. Make sure you're leaving yourself a decent tail. It's better to have more of a tail than not enough when it comes to weaving in, because these are going to be woven in. So there is the little leaf, and again there's the big leaf. So now let's move on to attaching them. So it's time to attach leaves, and I have a small leaf here. I have a darning needle. I've threaded it on to the darning needle. I have found that I like to use this end right here. You'll be able to tell the difference because this one, the end of it is kind of hidden underneath over here. And this one is right here at the tip. I like to use this one to attach to. Now I tried several different ways to attach here. I tried to attach right there. I tried to attach right here to color C, and what I found I actually liked better was if I attached right here in these regions, which is the petals of the flowers. I just felt for me it looked better if I did it that way. You don't have to attach there if you don't want to. That's just my preference and what I decided I liked. So I'm going to attach to this one. And I'm just going to thread my darning needle into those stitches and pull this leaf all the way up because that's how I want it positioned. And I'm just going to weave in this end to ensure that this little sucker does not come out, because we don't want that. No popping out of the leaves. And that's enough there. So I'm just going to snip off that end. And now I can hold it down and I can try to decide where I want it to lay. Now you can weave in this end into your leaf and you can just leave it free. I tried that and for me I didn't really like it, so I chose to take the tails from this end and I actually pinned them down and I wove them in on the opposite side. Do you have a little bit more of yuck on the wrong side of the work? Yes. But for me, I was willing to make that sacrifice so my leaves would not fold up on me. So I'll show you how I do that. I'm just going to thread my darning needle. Maybe. Well, that didn't work out, did it? Let's try this again. Success. All right, so choose which direction you want it to lay in. I think that right there would probably be fine. And I'm just going to pick a spot underneath here and push it through. There we go. You see how it holds it down? And then flip over to the back, and however it is that you feel comfortable weaving them in, just go for it. I will point out that you need to make sure that you're pulling this taut, because if you don't, then you're going to end up with a loose string and your leaf is going to flap around anyways, and that's not what you want. So I'm just going to pick a couple stitches here, maybe. Come on, go through. And I'm being super careful to make sure that I am not going to be showing any of this color D on the front side of the work, because that would not be cute. That's not the aesthetic that we're going for. I'm just pulling that through and weaving, making sure that I'm staying close to the top. And split and weave just a little bit more. And then snip it off. See, it doesn't look all that bad. At least I don't think so anyways. And now it's tacked down, so it's not going to curl up on you. You're not going to have any of that going on. So you can choose to place as many or as little of these leaves as you would like, wherever it is that you would like. Emma has given us complete freedom. I probably made 20, 25 of them, and I found that I made too many because it started to look kind of crazy, at least in my opinion, but you can make as many or as little as you want. So after this stage, the only thing that you have left is to move down to your peak, and you are going to want to surface crochet around your peak. Remember, we left this block completely empty, so you're going to want to surface crochet some more, and the reason that we left it empty was because we had this join going right here, and you see how that goes. We wouldn't have been able to do that if we had already worked over this square and this vine was already here. It would have looked very funky. So that's all that you have left to do, and that is week 4 of the Rambling Roses Crochet Along. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like and a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video.